This is a series of tweets that Ninth had. Ninth wanted to obviously legendary producer. He was having a conversation with his artist Swank and King Draft about the 90s. So Swank, who was born in 1994, says, it just seems that during that time, the separation point was, I'm actually better than you at making music, but what I'm driving or what I wear, you can actually go buy because it's not that crazy expensive. And then he says, now it seems like no one is really that good, but the money they make separates them from us. And Ninth was like, the conversation ended immediately. He was like, fantastic point.
He actually expanded on that even further. So he said, Swank actually replied to that, and he said, lifestyle is king now. And then Ninth said, so basically, who can dress and how much it costs?
Right.
And then Swank goes, who can dress, what designer brand is hot, what kind of whip you got, the clarity of the diamonds in your chain, everything but the music. And then Ninth says, it's crazy because how can the streets and community feel like they are a part of it?
The point?
Well, I think now, because I could speak to this era because I remember it vividly.
Yes.
When Snoop came on Saturday Night Live, he had on a Tommy Hilfiger rugby that we could all just go to Macy's or Famous Bar or whatever it was, and LSA or wherever you listen.
Lazarus.
Yeah. And you could buy that.
True.
Okay. They might have, the most expensive thing they might have talked about that might have seemed out of reach was a Rolex. Mm-hmm. Throw your rollies in the sky, but like pretty much they was wearing starter jackets.
Yeah.
And, you could, they were driving a Mercedes or a BMW, something you might know that maybe if you had a, your circle of.
You might have had a friend's mama that had one of those.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then when it jumped to Benzes and Ferraris, it was something else. Like there used to be a time you'd hear people talking about Camaros and Corvettes and Samurai Suzukis.
True.
And this is what people were driving. I remember Eric B talked about like when he got a Rolls Royce or a Bentley, he said people was like, oh man, that's a white man's car.
Yeah.
So he wasn't pushing, the E-Class Benz or, whatever that was around the neighborhood.
Boy money back then.
Yeah. But I think there is, now you see people wearing stuff that you don't know where to buy that stuff.
Yeah.
And even if they told you couldn't afford it. Now there is a thing to where honestly, even rappers who aren't making that much money comparatively,
Yeah.
They have set themselves so far away from the regular people. I think there is a disconnect.
Lon, what was the line you read about Ninth as it relates to community, where he said
it's crazy because how can the streets and the community feel like they are a part of it?
Man, I
can tell you why. Well, it goes back to how we constantly have to bring up the capitalism aspect of hip hop.
Yes.
People are going to look the part versus if they have it or not. And they're going to do whatever they have to do in order to do that, whether it's go to the swap meet or rob. You know what I'm saying? I mean, people have been robbing. Scamming, robbing people for Jordans since the 80s.
True.
And that's back when Jordans were easy to obtain if you had that money to get it. But now it's switched to a higher end of clothing. So, I mean, I don't know, man. It's crazy because, again, it goes to that whole social currency thing because you have to look like you're doing something whether you're doing something or not.
Right.
Well, I mean, and sometimes it's easy for us to get on this new generation of rappers who just seem so unrelatable because of how they've presented themselves. But, I mean, you can go back to when, there's always been a level of, in black music specifically, about trying to of aspirational wealth. Okay, it was always about having a Cadillac. I need money, this, that, and the thing. Money. Like I'm not going to knock these new rappers because they're carrying on tradition. When Sugar Hill Gang said, "I got a color TV so I can see the Knicks play basketball, and I got a Lincoln Continental and a brand new Cadillac," they ain't had none of that shit.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't want to separate the culture based on age and what they're doing now. It's just like they've taken it to another level and things evolve. And I that's where I never want to too much turn my nose up or look down upon the newer generation.
No, I would never do that because, I mean, even further than that, not necessarily further, but more recent than the Sugar Hill Gang story was what's his name? Dapper Dan.
Yeah.
Dapper Dan was literally taking the Louis Vuitton and the Gucci materials and making these outfits that were, you know what I'm saying, ghetto fabulous at the end of the day. And once he did that, that created an image that made the actual designers want to bite his designs. Yeah. And here we are now, fast forward, he's got deals with Gap and Gucci, you know what I'm saying, from stuff he did back in the 80s. Now, again, gold chains and things of that nature have always been a part of hip hop. But the thing about it is, it wasn't the main part. Now it's more so they're looking at what kind of fashion you have on. Even if you go out, people don't have fun. They don't dance. They don't do nothing. It's a fashion show. True. They're trying to show you what kind of outfit they got on. They standing around. They say it's a movie and they ain't do shit.
Yeah. I mean, like now it's crazy. Like, you know, once again, this is where someone's going to get mad, but
they'll be all right. They'll be all right.
You know, I'll say specifically within our culture, black culture, hip hop culture, whatever you want to say, you know, and I don't want to specifically leave it on black people, but our young men are competing with our young women in a way that I feel is unhealthy. Like a girl could say, hey, you know, I got a new pair of shoes. And now it's a dude to be like, well, check out these shoes. I was like, cuz you're not supposed to be trying to compete with women out here in the marketplace. Yeah. You know, I mean,
that's a whole nother.
That's the whole nother thing. But like, it's once again, seeing how culture moves in real time. Like I said, there's not even an interaction between people anymore. They literally stand around. Mm-hmm. You know, they want to be seen. Everybody thinks they're a little bit famous right now because of social media.
I think what I don't want to get lost in the tweet is, especially from Swank, when he says, it just seems that during that time, the separation point was I'm actually better than you at making music. That part.
Well, yeah, because what have we said about people who say I'm not a rapper, I'm a hustler, I'm not a rapper. I was like, people put rap and being a dope MC as maybe the third or fourth thing that is their priority.
I think he's 100% correct when he says that, because, you know, I always say randomly stuff about pie charts, but fashion and, you know, however they want to look and all that, that's a bigger part of the chart than actually being good at music. Social currency, that's a bigger chunk of the pie than actually being good at music.
I don't know, man.
To me, that's
to you, but the whole swag thing and being able to create a vibe, whether it's good or not. So me and my nephew talk about this Future song that's out that's supposedly very, very good, and it's a vibe essentially. What is it called? Pluto something or another. Mm-hmm. But he literally mumbles, and they love it.
Yeah.
So I'm with him. I'm like, man, I don't understand the appeal of this shit. But Future is one of them people that he's got on a nice outfit. He's designer.
Yeah.
He talks about having all these women and things of that nature. So the music doesn't matter, because it's the vibe that you're receiving from that music. So I think his argument is stating that maybe I don't have to dress like that, but I rap 10 times better than you. But a lot of people ain't paying attention to that shit now.
Yeah, that's what
unfortunately, that's not an important factor of what people are paying attention to. They'll go on to tell you that it's boring. Oh, I don't want to hear that shit, man. He's trying to tell me how to do this, and it sounds too put together. I need to feel a vibe, essentially. You know what I'm saying?
I think what you're explaining is correct, but I think that goes to the difference between, I don't know if this even exists anymore, but it does in some form. The difference between mainstream and, I guess, what we used to call underground or unknown. Because on the mainstream, I think you just described it to the T, but I do know that there's a sector where what you just talked about is also received well. But I just think it's on such a smaller scale, it doesn't resonate as much, I guess, is what I'm saying. But I feel you on the vibe, because the actual vibe conversation is going to always win. It's going to always win. So I feel you on that. I'm not mad at that.
Listen to 𝗚𝗘𝗧𝗡𝗘𝗧𝗦 if you have it.
Lone has it. Lone will pull it up.
Yeah, no, he won't.
No, I don't.
Check it out, man.